Hey, it's Greg here with Outdoors on the Cheap, and I thought I'd do a video today on snowshoeing. Considerations about snowshoeing. If you're thinking about getting into it, this time of year, the amount of snowfall in the woods can really be an impediment to getting into the woods, whether you're hunting or hiking or just looking around or whatever you do, exploring, whatever. And so sometimes the only way you can access the woods is with snowshoes. If you go to an outdoors place and you look at the selection of snowshoes they have there, they tend to be very small. And it's almost like they're for going on trails, going on snowshoeing trails, that sort of thing, as opposed to being in the deep woods off the trail and you're breaking trail. A lot of stores, when you go to buy snowshoes, are very small, but really you want a big snowshoe. I'm 6'4", I'm over 200 pounds, I'm 210 right now, 210 pounds. Initially, when I first got into snowshoeing, I bought these 27-inch snowshoes, okay? They said that the weight limit for these, I got these at Canadian Tire, I think. They weren't expensive. They were maybe like 90 bucks for the pair, brand new. Anyway, he said the upper weight limit for these was 225 pounds. And I was probably 200 pounds, maybe 195 back then. In deep, soft, fluffy snow, not some trail where everybody's snowshoes, just alone in the woods, no trail whatsoever. These were practically useless. If there was 3 feet of snow and you took a step, it would go down 2 feet, right? And if there was a crust, 50% of the time, snowshoes can be great when there's a crust on top of the snow because you just walk on top of the crust. But with these, with my weight on these snowshoes, I would break through. So my advice to anyone is do not buy the snowshoes if you're near or within 20 pounds of the upper weight, suggested weight limit for those snowshoes. Go way bigger. So these are 27-inch. They're supposed to go to 225. I used these for a number of years, but as I got older, these are exhausting to use in deep snow. So I switched to these babies that I got at a Army-Navy place. Right? These are for serious people. Okay? They're heavy duty and they're big, right? And I'm not plugging the brand of these. I don't know where you'd get these. I think these were used where I got them. But lengthwise, just to give you a sense of dimensions, this is for like a 200-pound person, right? A 200-pound man, 210. So these are tip to tip, 35 inches, okay? And in terms of width, they are 10 inches. So 10 inches by 35 inches. It's a big snowshoe with a nice tipped up front, right? And a nice ice or snow crust, which is like ice grabbing grip here on this part, right? So in my opinion, you want something like that, something big. Go big. Get something way beyond your weight class sort of thing. If you're going to be going through untraveled forest in deep snow and you're breaking the trail, don't mess around with these little tiny things you tie to the back of your backpack that you see people using on TV. They're useless. You want big. And yes, the argument is that the shorter snowshoe is more maneuverable, you can turn around better and all that sort of stuff. They're useless if you're completely exhausted because every time you take a step you go down 3 feet. And believe me, where I snowshoe, in the forest where I live, the woods are thick. I can't imagine a forest being any thicker than this. It's just dense spruce trees and fir trees and that sort of thing. It's very dense. You really can't, it's very difficult to get through the woods here unless you've cut a trail, okay? So it's more about your skill with the snowshoe. You can turn around with the big snowshoe. You just have to know what you're doing. You have to know the limits of what you're able. It's just a skill thing, okay? And if you look at the snowshoes that people would use traditionally for breaking trail, they'd be big. Now, once you've got a trail broken, you could wear something much smaller because you've packed it down, or nothing at all. When you're breaking trail, you need a big snowshoe, especially if you're carrying a backpack or anything like that. It makes a huge difference. You'd think the bigger snowshoe would be fatiguing, but the small snowshoe, where you're basically like doing steps, right? You want the snowshoe to sink in less. The deeper down the snowshoe sinks when you step, the more work you're doing. So you're basically stepping up every time. It's like climbing stairs. And it starts off, you're okay, but after about 10 minutes, you're exhausted. Okay, talk about a couple more things. I can't talk about, I've done videos on walking sticks and all the different uses of walking sticks. I forgot to mention that when you're snowshoeing, you can't beat a walking stick. If you're going through and there's like all kinds of, you know, trees with all kinds of heavy snow on them like that, or you could, if you're going to go through a spot where there's just all kinds of branches and snow everywhere, you can use this to get that out of the way. But most importantly, when you're going downhill or uphill, or you're going through an area where you don't really know what you're stepping on, it looks like snow, but there could be a fallen tree or a bent over. There's a lot right now. There's a lot of bent over Christmas tree sized spruce trees, right? So you really don't know what you're stepping on. So you just need that extra stability when you're negotiating that terrain. I mean, yeah, I'm 52, but even when I was in my prime, I just found it made a huge difference to have a nice, good long walking stick, at least up to your armpit, maybe even higher for snowshoeing, because you know, you might have to go down a ways to find the actual ground. Okay, so a walking stick or just a ski pole, whatever, but I find a walking stick a little bit more versatile for in the woods. Lots of things you can use it for. Your manner of dress. I find I like to have a hat like this, and I like to have, like, this is actually a ski jacket. So I got it at Value Village, just used. You want something that's light, and you want to dress to be being physically active. I mean, you're not riding a snowmobile here. You're marching, you're carrying weight, you know, you're dragging the snowshoes to the ground. It's a physical activity, snowshoeing, and you need to be dressed to exert energy. So you want something that breathes, you want something you can open up, right? Make that here. You want something you can open up at the neck, right? I like something with a hood, right? Because if you're going through a bunch of stuff where there's stuff falling off in trees everywhere, you can just put this up and let all the snow fall down. I like to wear big mitts, right? I basically got a chainsaw mitt, trigger mitt, right? But I've got a wool glove, pure wool glove inside the chainsaw mitt. I find these are good down to minus 20°C personally. And you can always, if your fingers are getting cold, you can take this one out. You can just stick them all. You can just make a, you know, pull your fingers out and make a fist inside the glove to warm your hands up. But I find these are the best. Hood. I got a hoodie here as well, right? Under my hat, I got one of these things. You can get these at like a place like a store where they sell stuff for work. These funny little hats, they go underneath hard hats for construction workers. But they're basically, if you're doing something physical, you don't want a big heavy toque on because you're going to sweat. I mean, everything changes depending on your temperature, right? If it's minus 40, that's a whole nother thing, right? But if you're moving and you're working and that sort of thing, you don't want to get all sweaty and wet. You want to be able, your clothes to breathe. So I like something like this, and I've got this neck gaiter here, right? So it keeps my neck warm. I can also bundle this up if I want to be even warmer, but if I'm getting hot, I can just peel this right off, right? Stick it in my back pocket. Same with this, or you got your hat on like this. This keeps the sun out of your eyes, but you can peel this up to bleed some heat off your ears. But if it's getting cold, you can put up this hood. I got a, you know, what's that called? Merino wool hoodie, okay? And if it's even colder, I can do this, right? So I can adjust to the conditions. As I get hot, or if I sit down and I'm taking a break, all of a sudden you cool down, you start putting your hood up and start adding your layers, okay? On my feet, I can't stress how important it is, how useful it is to have a gaiter. You can get these on Amazon, online. You probably get them at a lot of outdoor stores. I got these online. They're maybe 20 bucks for the pair. Right, it's just a thing. It hooks onto your laces down here, and it goes up to your knee. Okay, and it keeps the snow from going down your boot. Right? You do not want, I mean, you're just going to be going through snow. There's going to be snow falling off of trees. Right? Again, you're not on some park somewhere. You're in the middle of the forest. There's snow everywhere and it's falling down. You do not want the snow going down your boots, getting your feet soaked. Depending on conditions, I'm wearing jeans with long johns underneath. But if I was breaking trail through really thick woods and there was snow everywhere, I would want some sort of waterproof pants. I've got, like, I like to use old, kind of like rain pants. I don't wear snow pants because they get too hot. I like to have a pair of jeans with long johns underneath, or, you know, some sort of work pants, you know, like a canvas type of heavy dungaree material. And then I like to have old rain pants over the top. They're not 100% waterproof, but they shed snow. But they breathe, because they're old, right? Old rain pants. They're not sort of airtight, so they breathe. But when the snow goes on them, instead of it, you know, like if snow falls on these pants, it's going to stick, it's going to melt, it's going to get my pants wet. On old rain pants, you can get them at, you know, used clothing places, or just when your rain pants start wearing out and they're not good anymore as rain pants, that sort of thing, right? They're great for being out in the snow because they breathe, but the snow will shed, right? So if I'm going through into a really serious situation, I'll do that. Or if I'm in a situation like I'm on today, where I know the terrain, I know that I can probably not get too much snow on myself, I'll go like this because I like that it breathes. Like other things, you know, you're doing physical, cardiovascular, exercise type work. You want to be able to bleed off heat. That's me anyway. I get hot, so I want to be able to bleed off the heat. But you know, if I was going out for the entire day, I would wear a pair of old rain pants over these so that I don't get wet. But these gaiters are just the best, right? Because they keep the snow from going down your boots. And I mean, for footwear, and these are just a pair of like kind of like snow boots where you've got the rubber on the bottom and the some sort of waterproof Gore-Tex type thing here. I use whatever is comfortable. I like these for being, you want something that's going to keep your feet nice and warm, and it's still going to be waterproof enough because it's going to be covered in snow the whole time. Right, so if you wear a leather boot, if they're not really well treated with mink oil or something like that, the snow on top of your boot here is going to melt and start penetrating the boot. Depends on how cold it is. If it's cold enough, leather's fine because the snow won't melt. But if you're in that, near zero, near freezing, then the snow can melt on your boots and start getting your boots wet if they're leather. But if you have a waterproof boot, then you sort of solve that problem. So I only wear leather if it's like, minus, 10 Celsius or colder, right? Because that way I know the snow won't melt into the leather. Anyway, just a few considerations for snowshoeing. Go big. For snowshoeing in the forest where there's no broken trail, go big. Go bigger than whatever the weight things say, go bigger. Okay? If you're in one of those outdoors sporty type shops, get the biggest ones they have, unless you're really, really tiny, right? My son weighs about 100 pounds. He wears these, the ones I used to wear when I was 200 pounds, okay? Big is better. Because you want to stay on the snow, you don't want to go down, you want to stay on top. Like a bunny rabbit. Look at the size of a rabbit's feet. They're huge, right? The rabbit wants to stay on top of the snow. All right? Carry a walking stick, have layers, dress to be doing physical activities so you don't cook inside your clothes and get all wet and sweaty and gross and get overheated. All right, so I hope you found that interesting. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, and until next time, enjoy the outdoors on the cheap. Thanks for watching.